And now we have a very personal story from our Reverend Joan Faison. Okay. Comes to us from the Center for Spiritual Living. And Ken, let's go ahead and put up the slide picture of Joan's grandparents, and I'll welcome her to the podium.
Thanks, Carl. Thank you. My grandparents, Bernice and Moses Pete, and I knew him as Grandpa Pete, my grandfather Pete. And my first words were Pete beer, because he would come home from work and he sat down on the couch and I'd climb in his lap. And there came the beer. I'm not going to say whether I drank it or not, but anyway. I was raised, this picture was taken long before I was born, but my whole entire family came from Virginia to New York. They came up in caravans and pieces and everything else. And this is a picture of when they go back every second Sunday in August to celebrate revival at the church, excuse me, at the church. And that was a big caravan going back. The secret was no one spoke about what happened in Virginia. On 139th Street, my friends was Mary Carroll and Irma Rodriguez. Mary went to Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church, and we played nuns. We put a pencil in the middle of our head and the black scarf all the way down, and we played nuns. Me and Irma played music, and it wasn't too well, but we went to public school. It was a good time. It was a great time. The only people in that block that were Black were supers. Some of us lived in the basement. Some of us was happy enough to live on the first floor, but that's all we could do. And it was fun. It was great to know that my family came up and had us living in a block of everyone. But the secrets, anytime we went anywhere, and Mary would hop in the car with us, we would always be stopped and didn't know why. Secrets. Anytime that we ate, my grandmother could take 4 chicken wings and feed 8 people in the family and have food left over for the next day. And I didn't know why. At the age of 16, 17, being that we lived on 139th Street, right across from between Amsterdam and Hamilton Place, City College was having a rally, and I was going. And I was happy to go because I was raised in a block of all people, and I learned how everyone lives together. And when I went to go out, my grandfather stopped me. Pete said, "You can't go. You're not allowed to go. You have to stay." And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be safe. It's okay. People up there, we're going to just rally around City College and it's fine." He says, "No." And I learned the secret of slavery. He looked at me and my grandmother looked at me, and he said to me, "You cannot go, because if you go, they're going to burn a cross on the stoop." I had no idea of what went on with them in Virginia. They never said they did anything but go to the farm and shook peanuts. They never said anything about cotton. So we always thought to the farm, that's where they went, dug in the ground, picked up the peanuts and shook them. No, that was a plantation. And they never meant to let me know that they lived on a plantation. They never said to me at all the secrets of Virginia. Whenever we went back and all the family got together, they never said to me, "We're going back to bring someone back with us. We're going back to help who's there. They never let me know until that day when they said they're going to burn a cross on the stoop in Harlem. They never said it. And then it dawned on me. The cops stopped us because me and Mary was sitting in the back having such a good time with her hair flowing and her blue eyes. What was this girl doing in your car? They never said my father was only known as Lee because that's what they called us. They never gave us a name, but they gave us a chance. They gave me a chance. They gave the rest of my family a chance. And that secrets was introduced to me when I was introduced to Barrie. Because someone said, why do you call your grandfather Pete? And he was Grandpa Pete, that was it. And I was talking to Barrie, and I happened to notice Barrie's last name. And just like we were named Washingtons, Irvings, Douglases, even Hamilton, we were named Peterson. And Barrie's name is Peterson. So I have to thank my parents. I'm wearing green because I have just found out I got a touch of Irish in me, regardless of whether my parents shucked peanuts or not. So to you and to everyone here, I want to say, make sure you pass on at least one secret of your family history to someone else. It's so good to want to be having your children not have to go through that, but it is also good to know a little something about who you are. Thank you. Pleasure to introduce a man who has traveled. Aren't we a cute couple? Barrie Peterson, thank you.
Okay. I'm glad to be back. Now as a visitor from being my home in Clonmel, County Tipperary, Ireland. In November, just before the election, I warned here of the threats of violence, but he won and didn't again unleash his thugs. But now official violence is being waged against our Constitution, public officials refusing to kiss his ring, against the legitimate media, not to mention immigrants, nullifying efforts to bring fairness to the workplace, and censoring teaching of history. Some federal district courts are restraining this rush to fascism, and some blue state governors and mayors are scrambling to buffer us from the terror. A few years ago, I shared with you my discovering that my Macaulay Scotch-Irish ancestors had enslaved 11 human beings. The wealth sucked from this despicable practice enabled him to donate money and land to help start the University of North Carolina in 1796 on his farm in Chapel Hill. What have I done with this knowledge? I have not dug further into family history to try to identify and connect with Jacob and Alan, two slaves, the first surviving bondage and beginning a family, the second escaping to serve as one of the 180,000 in the US colored troops. Nor have I tried to untie the knots of two different family tree paths to Rosa Macaulay Parks. But I have donated part of my white privilege inheritance to social justice, political and artistic projects. Now to our topic for the morning. First, Ireland. B and I chose it over my beloved Scotland, still in the clutches of monarchy and ruled by Westminster. The recent move from Tory to Labour is not helping with the economic damage from leaving the EU. Further, the movement for independence has faltered. We both have family roots in Ireland. My Macaulays leaving Ulster before the American Revolution, B's Michael Connor leaving County Carlow around then for Louisiana as a young indentured servant. Could we have the Ireland map, please? I pointed to where we're living. After touring for 3 weeks in the fall of 2023, we decided on a row house in the small city of Clonmel. I spent about half the proceeds of my selling my Pauling house, and we moved in last August. Could we have the next picture, please? In the upper left, you see the hexagonal church tower. This is the view from our backyard. This is a church built in 1204. But after Cromwell took over, it became Episcopalian, and Catholic churches had to be built elsewhere. The square tower, kind of in front of it, is the leftover from the town wall, which held Cromwell off with his 7,000 soldiers for a month in 1650. Can you have the next picture, please? There is Cromwell, the great conqueror of England and then Ireland. And the next picture, please. Could you make, there is a picture of the town as it was with the wall around it. Our house is on the upper left outside the wall because we live in Irish Town. The ascendant classes took over the land and banned the Irish from living in town. Next slide, please. Can you enlarge that a bit? This is an illustration of Cromwell. You see the walls have been breached behind there by big cannon, and 2 different waves of troops were rushed through the wall by Cromwell, were immediately killed by the defenders. They had a trap set up. And so after the second wave failed, Cromwell is trying to get his soldiers to nevertheless go back. And he's having a hard time doing it. They finally did and had to climb over bodies to get into town. Eventually the town succumbed and he took over. Let's see. Our street, a block from the town wall, is named for O'Neill, who was the leader of the defenders. And as I plant and dig in my garden, I hope to come across, I mean, there were 4,000 soldiers there for a month. A musket ball, a belt buckle, a skull. Haven't found anything yet. To all Irish, mentioning Cromwell is like praising Sherman to a white supremacist resident of Georgia. Between Henry VIII taking over or destroying all the churches and monasteries, and then Cromwell's pillage, it surprises me that there are any religious structures left in Ireland. Turmoil and culture clashes seem endemic in Ireland. Stone Age people in Ireland built huge tombs well before the pyramids in Stonehenge. Newgrange is 300 feet wide, 50 feet high, and on the sunward side, faced with white stone, and it was built before the pyramids, before Stonehenge. The Celts swept in from Europe. Rome never really invaded, so when it collapsed, along with Christianity in Britain, it took St. Columba in Scotland and St. Patrick in Ireland to preserve the faith and reintroduce it to Britain. By the way, St. Bridget, another early Christian leader, has just been cited as a basis for a new national holiday on her feast day, March 3rd. She is an adaptation of a Celtic goddess, and the feast day is on Imbolc, which is a Celtic holiday. The Anglo-Norman invasion of William the Conqueror in 1066 began English domination, although for centuries, Vikings vied for power. A series of rebellions and strategies to gain independence culminated in Ireland becoming a nation in the 20s. Without the 5 northern counties of Ulster, however, causing ongoing conflict. For a real great comprehensive overview of Irish history, talk to Des Shaw. He has presented you and might share his magnificent account of all this. Thank you, Des. The Irish character is shaped by these and more traumas like the potato famine. It seems to me their kindness and quick humor, which everyone comments on after spending some time in Ireland, their kindness and quick humor come from centuries of being oppressed and learning to control what they could, interpersonal relations. The church lost all credibility early this century with revelations of systematic sexual abuse by priests and parochial school teachers, plus the enslavement of unwed mothers in the infamous Magdalena laundries. As a result, birth control, gay marriage, and access to abortion and divorce were voted in, previously having been blocked by the church. Most Irish are nominal Catholics, but the few who attend church do so, they tell us, for spiritual, social reasons, and don't trust or respect the hierarchy, let alone many priests. Revelations of abuse continue. Their spirituality seems to be expressed in the kindness I mentioned. We went to 3 sold-out benefit concerts at churches before Christmas. Slide, please. This is in a 800-year-old Franciscan friary, one of the 3 benefit concerts. And this is the retired rugby team singing in this Franciscan church. Above it, you can see the crucifix. To the left, you can see a statue of St. Francis. I mean, boy, mix it all together. The male rugby, I mean, it was quite amazing. And all these concerts are sold out. They support local charities very, very much. Also, there is sympathy for the oppressed. Their strong support for the Palestinians is universal in Ireland. 2 practices occur that I think express their spirituality. There are yearly pilgrimage walks up a nearby hill where, and this happens all around Ireland, where a mass might be said, and then they walk down and have a party at a pub. Then are the 3,000 holy wells, many from the Druidic years, but adapted with a shrine or statue of Mary or a chapel. These 2 practices are deeply involved with being in nature, and people are very keen on nature. In fact, next slide, please. Even today, people get onto the river, which is right near us, and there is B with the Dragon Boat Club of breast cancer survivor women who every Saturday paddle up and down the river shore. There are some personal interactions which might illustrate Irish culture, at least that we've seen so far. Number 1, walking along a street-lit main street to my chorus rehearsals, 2 different times a car stopped, 2 hailed me offering a ride. They just somehow recognized me. Number 2, Walking in town during the day, most people look you in the eye, say hello, or respond when you say hello or good morning. And nobody is on their screen walking around. Third example, Main Street shops are basically mom and pops. Amazon and Walmart not having destroyed Main Street. Hackett's appliance store owner Sean did not ask for payment for several $1,000s of orders that he delivered the day after we ordered them. When I asked for a referral to an electrician, he picked up his phone and said, "Tommy, it's Sean. I have a customer needing some work done. Can ye? Are you available tomorrow?" Yes, he's available tomorrow. He'll be there. He was, he came, he did the work. It was cheap. Next example, Billy Lonergan is the police officer, or Garda. That's what they call the police in Ireland, Garda. He's a police officer handling immigration. He aided us in obtaining our residency. Let's see. After, as retirees of independent means who must buy health insurance and don't leave Ireland for more than 90 days in a year. That's what you need to have residency. He also investigates gun applicants for the court, which issues gun permits. Quote, "If I see on their social media them waving around a weapon or anything but hunting or target practice, they don't get a license." Next example. Drivers stop to let you cross the road, and there's hardly any horn tooting. And zero big-ass pickup trucks driven around by young men displaying. Zero. They display by going into the Gaelic Athletic Association, playing soccer or hurling or whatever. I like that. There are some myths about Ireland and its people that we can, I think, reject. It's dominated by the church. Nope, no longer. There is widespread drunkenness. In 6 months, we have not seen a person that seemed to be inebriated. And we've been all around, different places. Maybe they drink at home. I don't know. It rains every day. Well, there's mist or soft rain, as they call it, but no big deluges, hardly any snow. And, it's okay. People think that Ireland is still part of England. God, no. And people think that if you're not in Dublin or Galway or Cork, you live in a thatched cottage with dirt floored in an outhouse. No, this is not the quiet men, Ireland. People think that everyone is a poet, playwright, fiddle player, step dancer, or pub singer. Many are. With this background, let's go on to issues of race and slavery. Frederick Douglass was encouraged to visit Ireland by William Garrison to avoid the dangers of the being grabbed following the Dred Scott decision. He came to believe that the struggle against slavery was part of an international struggle for political freedom. He hung out with Daniel O'Connell, called in Ireland the Liberator. Clearly racial distinctions were minimal at that time in Ireland. I assume they were 100 years before, when William Macaulay left Ireland. So how does someone then who learned to be a racist and even become a slave owner, if you came from a fairly egalitarian society, how do you make that big change? You've got to be taught, we hear in South Pacific. There are 5 examples of such a huge change that I can share, which may give us a hint. Number 1, William's parents had been lured across the water from Scotland by the English plantation scheme, which put Protestants into former Catholic Irish land. He soon tired of being an English pawn and having to pay tax to support the English church. So he left for the New World, North Carolina. That area was booming with European invader economies based on slave labor. He complied, but later evidenced some moral ambiguity. Second example of how someone can change from into becoming more racist or even enslaving. Number two, a Ridgewood Unitarian member, Margaret White, has delved into the psychology of this transformation. In her book, Becoming White, she traces her Eastern Tennessee forebears arriving from the British Isles with few racial ideas or perceptions, but they learned how to see themselves as superior to dark-skinned people, and thus developing rationales for enslaving them. After England banned the slave trade, Southern enslavers, bereft of new labor, began to rape to produce workers. And an internal slave market developed to ship slaves south to the growing sugar cotton plantations along the Mississippi. Third example of how someone might become a racist and an enslaver. Racial identities can be upended, as seen in one of B's ancestors in Louisiana. Michael Connor's son, Edward, had a relationship with Hortense Acquoy, a Black person. Adolphe, called in a newspaper the handsome Frenchman, one of their children, married another mulatto, Adelaide Gilliam. They named their children to census takers as slaves, despite treating them as their children. Why would they do that? During the Civil War, slave catchers were empowered to snatch any dark-skinned person, sell them, or force them into the Confederate Army workforce. So that was protecting their children by calling them slaves. Fourth example, in the early years of the 19th century, Cherokees in the South made the strategic decision to protect themselves from the waves of European invaders by assimilation. They adopted farming, European clothes, Christianity, building a post office and schools, forming a written language, printing presses, and adopting a constitution. They also adopted slavery. You can learn about that at New Echeta, northwest of Atlanta. It's a wonderful park. This did not save them from the 1832 Indian Removal Act. After the Supreme Court ruled that one's land could not be systematically stolen, invalidating the Indian Removal Act, Andrew Jackson ignored it and deported them onto the Trail of Tears to Oklahoma. It should be ominous, if not predictive, that Jackson is Trump's favorite president. Finally, B was surprised to learn of the Irish influence in Jamaica. Cromwell's genocides left many orphans and still rebellious Irish men, so thousands were transported to Jamaica to struggle on the sugarcane fields feeding the rum industry. There is in Jamaica today a Clonmel, a Dublin, traditional fiddle and dance, Guinness beer, kilts, and of course, St. Patrick's Day observances. By the way, Rihanna and Bob Marley have Irish roots, as do 25% of the people in Jamaica. Eventually, some of these transplants overcame their imposed oppression, and a few even built and acquired plantations and enslaved their fellows. Again, a move from a different culture and economy forces many to adopt these practices. So what can we draw from all this? Concluding, if we believe in our ability to change and in redemption, let's welcome changes in the opposite direction. Let's, from darkness to light, from hatred to love, from tribalism to diversity, equality, and inclusion. I'd like to close and leave you with one way to confront racism. Ready for the next final item. One way to confront racism and ignorance of the dark side of our history by using humor, most developed by the Irish